All right, on to MYEFO now, Treasurer. What sort of an economic picture will you be painting today?
A very responsible set of books, which reflects the substantial progress that we've made cleaning up the budget. What you'll see in the mid-year budget update is actually a deficit which is a bit smaller this year since budget, but even when there's slippage after that because of important investments in areas like Medicare and medicines and pensions, the budget will still be around $200 billion stronger than what we inherited when we came to office. So that means two surpluses in our first 2 years, a smaller deficit in our third year, much less debt and much less interest on the debt.
That's all well and good, but how does that help folks afford a Christmas lunch this year?
Well, we're rolling out very substantial cost of living help, because people are doing it tough. That's the motivation for the tax cuts, the energy bill relief, the cheaper medicines, cheaper early childhood education, the student debt relief, the rent assistance, and getting wages moving again. We've been able to find room in our budgets for cost of living relief, which is substantial and meaningful, but also responsible. And we've been able to do that at the same time as we've made that $200 billion improvement in the budget. And that $200 billion improvement in the budget since we were elected means $177 billion less debt and $70 billion less interest on that debt. So that you can see over time, even with a little bit of slippage in the later years, those two surpluses and the smaller deficit this year are making a substantial difference to the amount of debt that the budget is carrying and making room for our priorities, including that cost of living help.
When you say slippage, does that mean high government spending?
There are some areas, as we've been saying through the course of the week, where spending is going up. Medicare is a good example. The PBS and medicines is another good example. Supporting veterans. There's some extra money for natural disaster responses, about an extra $1.8 billion. So we're talking about some substantial figures, but in areas where there are pressures, automatic pressures, but also areas which are a priority for this government. Medicare obviously is among the most important of those. So big pressures on the budget. We've tried to accommodate that with some savings, but there is some slippage in later years, even as we've got the deficit a little bit down in the year that we are currently in.
See, that's where your critics have seized upon. Your answer so far to economic woes has been more and more government spending, which is keeping interest rates higher, therefore hurting more people for the longer run. Is that right?
No, it's not. And the Reserve Bank Governor has herself said that public demand is not the main game when it comes to inflation and interest rates. And what we've been able to do with the very responsible way we've been managing the budget is we've seen inflation come off substantially. When we came to office, it was much higher, more than twice what it is now, and it was rising. Now it's much lower and it's been falling. And that's partly because of our responsible economic management. And it's also, as the RBA Governor has recognised, some of this spending that's been in the first three budgets that we've handed down is that cost of living help that you started the interview by asking me about. And that's put downward pressure on inflation in areas like energy bills and early childhood education and rent as well. So we've struck the right balances here. Very responsible set of books, striking all of the right balances, recognising that fighting inflation is our number one priority, but we can't ignore our responsibilities to people and we can't ignore the risks to growth. And that's what's driven the set of books that we'll be handing down in a couple of hours.
Yet we are in a per capita recession and unlikely to get a rate cut in the near term.
Well, that's your prediction, Pete. I don't make predictions about decisions taken independently by the Reserve Bank. And when it comes to the economy, it is very soft. The economy is very soft and people are under substantial pressure. And that's why now would be the worst possible time to hack into Medicare, to hack into wages, to hack into pensions. Now, don't forget, and I see you had the Shadow Treasurer on this program yesterday, he calls the sorts of investments that we're making in medicines and Medicare and pensions, he lumps that into a big category of things he calls wasteful spending. And what he really means by that is if there's too much spending on Medicare and medicines and pensions, what he's really telling people is that he wants to hack into that. And we know that they are a risk to people's household.
They're not cutting Medicare.
He has said on your program and elsewhere that there is too much spending in the budget, including, he uses a number, $315 billion, which includes pension indexation. It includes Medicare. It includes disaster relief. It includes veterans support. And as you rightly asked him yesterday, well, what will you cut? He won't tell you. He won't come clean on that. There's a very good reason for that. if he thinks spending on Medicare and medicines and pensions is wasteful, he needs to tell people how much he'll cut from those really important areas. Right. Now would be the worst time to do that, when the economy is soft and people are under pressure. We've found a way to get the budget in much better nick, $200 billion stronger than we inherited, at the same time as we help people, at the same time as we don't ignore the risks to growth. That's the responsible and appropriate balance to strike, and that's the balance you'll see struck in the mid-year budget update.
You mentioned energy relief during our chat. Is that going to be extended?
Not in the mid-year budget update. Obviously we keep these sorts of decisions under review from budget to budget, but the existing energy bill relief is still rolling out at the moment. Our focus is on rolling that out. People shouldn't anticipate another round of that when we put these numbers out at 10:30.
All right. Treasurer Jim Chalmers, appreciate your time on a busy morning. Thank you so much.